Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Coach JC. Everyone gather around should be a good one today. Today's topic is a woman rather sleep alone than be with a man she can't depend on. Bottom line, as men, we have to add value to a woman's life. A lot of times we're just offering bubble gum and eggplant, and a lot of times that's just not enough. We gotta kind of get into the mode of what am I actually providing for this woman? Do I want to take her on? Do I want to care for her? Do I want to be there for her mentally, emotionally, financially? What role am I playing in this woman's life, and how are we balancing each other out? Anytime you get into a relationship, partnership, marriage, it's always about what can we do together as a team, as a unit. And a lot of times as men, we're just focusing on our own selfish needs and wants. We got to kind of ask ourselves, what kind of value am I adding to this woman? And the same thing in terms of like you go to an employment place, the job or whatever place you're working with. What kind of value are you bringing to the clients, to the customers, to just in general? So, because like I said, not everybody just wants like a warm body to sleep next to and can't really depend on you for other things. So you have to be very decisive as far as like, what am I really bringing to this woman's life? What am I adding? What kind of value am I adding? Because if she's doing good, without you, and she's kind of doing, on that same tier, it's kind of like what kind of value did you bring to that woman? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it's perfect, because every time you with a woman, it can be different. We want a different with a woman. You know what I mean? Just gotta kind of see what can you really bring, or what can you really add to a woman's life to enhance her, to enrich her, to make her feel a lot better about herself. And also too, what she bringing to you. What kind of things are you guys working on together as a unit? If there's things that you may struggle with, she's gonna struggle with. So basically goes hand in hand. Basically, what are you guys working on to enrich each other's lives? That's what it's all about. Partnership, relationships, even going to marriage. What are you elevating, and then what are you really trying to accomplish? Year in and year out. You may be lacking in some areas. Like, I know for me, I'm not even gonna lie. When I first was dating, when I was married to my wife, I didn't even have a car, I didn't have I didn't have a license. I waited until I was about 27, 28 to get my driver's license. So, I was like, I think that was huge for me to get my license, because I was just so used to catching the bus. So it really helped a lot with me finally getting me a license to actually drive a car, and that helped. It helped out a lot. You know what I'm saying? So just little things like that. Or it could be little stuff like learning how to cook, learning how to clean, learning how to be more organized, or being more proactive as far as paying attention to the household needs. Or just paying attention in general. A lot of stuff you just have to kind of zone in and locked in on, like what can I add to my record, what can I add to my repertoire. It's always about improving. It's not about getting stagnant. It's not about being complacent. Like, I always try to see what can I do better. What can I do better or get better at. Don't be with a man who's not really trying to learn, not really trying to elevate, not really trying to assess his own weaknesses and try to see what can he do to really enhance himself so he can be with you long term. Because it do take work. It takes growth. Everything. Like I said, everything from like now until even like 4 or 5 years ago, even before we even had a living. Now, she's about to be 4 years old, and I was like, okay, now she's 4 years old now. Everything kind of kicks in. So just had to continue with regression day by day. And I've seen, the growth as far as myself each and every day. And then, like I said, you got to be with a man who's willing to grow. And like I said, you see going next to a man who's not really trying to elevate, not really trying to motivate himself, then it's hard for you to kind of, we all be on the same page. But you're always going to have that go get a mindset. He's always going to be like, no, I'm good. I don't feel like doing too much. I don't feel like doing that. Or it's gonna frustrate you, and it might run you down a tier, and you're like, I was so get up and go when I was single, and now it's like in a relationship, you would think that it would translate to something greater, but a lot of times you might be on decline for a little bit. So you just gotta continue working stuff, work with each other, pray for each other, and try to figure out ways to kind of uplift each other. Because you just, as a man, you just bringing eggplant and bubble gum to a situation. You gotta, reevaluate yourself. Like, what am I doing to elevate her? Because this ain't gonna be enough. I gotta figure something out. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. Y'all comment below as far as what you want to talk about, or just comment below what you think about the topic. If I were you, say, man, a woman would rather sleep alone than be with a man she can't depend on. Like I said, the financial, the spiritual support. Like I said, she want to see you get up, open up your Bible, get on the Bible app. She wants to see you pray. She wants to see you lead her. She wants to see all that. A lot of times she may not be fortunate to see that, and she wants to see something different. Because a lot of guys, they can, they have attributes like that, but it's not the whole. They're not really adding too much to her life. So just always look at yourself, reevaluate, just to look yourself in the mirror, like, hey, what am I adding to this value? What else can I do to bring, enjoyment, fulfillment into our life? But yeah, that's all I really have to say. Until next time, out, Coach JC.